So Sushant, welcome to another talk. And we had very good sessions in the past. Most of the sessions have gone well, but आज मैं आपको बहुत challenge करने वाला हूँ. The reason is we are talking about blood work, which is the way things are happening versus what we are talking about is precise gut microbiome analysis and then look at the chronic diseases. तो मैं आपसे ये चैलेंज करना चाहता हूँ कि when the whole medical fraternity over the world is saying that blood work is ultimate, so why are we saying that nahi, 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 this is not ultimate? So I really want to challenge you on that point because a lot of people would have been listening to this. What's your viewpoint on that?
Yes. So let us start with basics. So first of all, thank you for this exciting talk. Probably I was very keen on, and I've been promoting a lot, or maybe educating a lot about so blood works. Is it necessary? Is it good or bad? Right? Is it really solving it? Right? So been I have lot of, based on my research and over last 4 years the product we have developed, we have serviced around 250 plus customers. So so I think let us start with basics. Why and how we are developing these diseases as of now, right? And probably I'll be very quick on this. We can discuss this on detail when we are doing a webinar on 23rd of December, right?
Yeah.
But I'll be happy to have your questions on maybe questioning me and challenging me on whatever we discussed, right? So I think this is very clear that 52% of the adult population suffering from chronic health conditions globally, right?
Yeah.
India is the diabetic capital, we discussed over the last discussion, right? IBS, again, 10% of the global population suffering from irritable bowel syndrome issues, and this which further transfers into cancer and other serious issues. Then autoimmune diseases, we have lactose intolerance, gluten intolerance, hypothyroidism, there are multiple arthritis. There are a lot of autoimmune disorder where our immune cells keeps fighting with each other, right? And
Yeah.
then attack ourselves. And then we have cardiovascular diseases, right? Again, a huge population, 33% of the global population suffering from cardiovascular diseases, and multiple factors linked with type 2 diabetes also, maybe high protein diet, and even digestive issues trigger cardiovascular disease, so then again, skin issues. Skin is the largest organ inside our body, right? It has the largest, skin has its own microbiome, own bacteria. These bacteria protect us from various outside environment pathogens, right? So essentially taking care of these bacteria is really essential. And then cancer, obviously, we are becoming one of the top 5 cancer attracting or developing countries in world right now, right? And similarly, 41 million people die prematurely of chronic disease every year, right? So they are dying before they they're actually meant to, because these diseases are killing them, right? And with this, we know that all these diseases are preventable because these are lifestyle diseases, but how? So thing is, we need to use the right set of interventions, investigations, right, to determine what is making us develop these diseases, whether it's controllable or uncontrollable, right? If we can predict them, right, and detect them, right? So it's all three. Why?
So what are these interventions we are talking about here?
So typically, you see, there are multiple controllable and uncontrollable factors, right? So over last 5 decades, our food diversity has fallen by 75% because of multiple factors, right? We have been surrounded by a lot of fat diets, be it paleo, be it ketosis, Mediterranean, maybe intermittent fasting, sort of interventions, right? So we think, okay, this is working for my gym buddy, my neighbor, my friend, my spouse, right? So it is going to work for me. That's one thing. Second thing is, obviously, because of the cholesterol which we discussed, and diabetes, and a lot of these metabolic syndrome, we have these FMCG products, right, which says it, right, which is plastered with health seal. So it is cholesterol free, this is sugar free, all these things. We don't understand that exactly they are really sugar free, or really they are cholesterol free, or there's something else which is further impacting our health, right? Environmental toxins, right? So globalization is really great for economy, but it has also, so there were a lot of metals inside our inside the earth, which were never came out because they were toxins, right? And because of industrial revolution and all this globalization, these toxins have been out now. Now environment is full of those toxins, and these are also impacting our health, right?
Yeah.
Then obviously the standard interventions of doctors giving antibiotics and drugs to suppress your symptoms, and stress levels. Yeah, financial stress, oxidative stress, relationship stress, work stress, right? It's killing. It's actually degrading your body cells, right? And it happens over time. So you, after one is absent, maybe last 10 years we have been developing stress, and then you have different symptoms which you can't understand why. Oh, I've been eating healthy. I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I have a sound sleep, I'm eating what doctors tell or my nutrition tell, but still my health is deteriorating. I have anxiety, depression issues, I have bloating, constipation issues, mood swings, number of things, right? Then again, this is something uncontrollable, depleting soil health, right? So use of fertilizers, has degraded a lot of these plants which we eat of essential nutrients. For instance, in a recent study, it came that the 75% of magnesium has been swapped out of all the foods like spinach and everything.
Oh, okay.
Even I'll tell you, a couple of days back, there's a news which came in Himachal that 20% the vegetables have been scrapped after 20% of the selenium. So selenium, zinc, these are been the bioavailability of these essential nutrients reducing, right? So again, these are something beyond our control. We may think we are eating spinach, we are eating pumpkin seeds, we are eating a lot of things, but whether it is being absorbed in your body, it depends upon whether you have the right set of biological mechanism happening, or maybe your soil or your plant doesn't even have that, right? And then again, since the time we have started moving from small towns to big towns, the our children's exposure to dirt has fallen. We know that,
तो बच्चों को मिट्टी से खेलने देना चाहिए. That's what
because immune system gets developed, right? If you're not so, probably you will find people are having cough, cold every now and then because their immune system is not trained to tackle such attacks. Right?
Absolutely.
So essentially, what we need is right kind of health investigations that can give precise interventions to address our biology. Right? Yeah. So what is the starting point? So obviously, what are the current set of investigation available in the market today? It's mostly it's standard of care blood and urine investigation, what we call as diagnostic test, right? At plasma and serum level. So we have HbA1c blood glucose for metabolic health, lipid profile for metabolic health, KFT, LFT, right? Checking your kidney and liver health, CBC or hemoglobin and our entire blood profile, C-reactive protein, which checks the inflammatory, and urine culture, and there are a number of such tests, right? Even cholesterol test, LDL, HDL test, right? So there are a number of tests which tells, okay, what is my current state of health, right? At a plasma and urine, serum level. So whatever has happened in my body as a result of that, what is the current state? If it's high, if it is abnormal with outside the range, probably something is bad, right? Then we have these investigations form the basis of health interventions, right? So it can be nutrition, it can be drugs, antibiotics, it can be treatment also, right? So these are 99% right now. All the interventions are based on blood works, right?
Yeah.
And since the fact that 90% of us are developing or going to develop at least one chronic disease, something is wrong if these investigations are, interventions are based on these investigations, right?
Yeah, and I think another point which I would like to talk, and this is what I have been seeing very closely, being in healthcare industry, even blood work, because they are all competing, they want to give too many parameters in a limited cost. So what I have seen is there is a complete deterioration in the quality. पहले तो फ्लीवो घर पे आते हैं उनको, they are not able to draw blood properly, they are not qualified. Then you look at the vacutainer in which blood is being drawn. They are trying to use everything inferior, and which can have huge implications, because most of the biological tests are all multimolecular interaction stuff which is happening. So if you have inferior stuff, if you have inferior pipetting, wrong volumes, and this is the reason, if you get the test done from say 4 different labs, results are going all over. So this is another area I think which spoils it further.
Yeah. So I've been, I've worked in this sector in 2013-14, right? So I had a startup in diagnostic space earlier. So we were working with, good NABL accredited labs, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there were multiple issues, as you point. So probably just a bit of deviation from our discussion. So what is that a number of them will not share if you are preparing, creating a marketplace where people can compare the prices, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of labs are not ready to share prices because first thing is they make a lot of money, because the cost of any test, right? I'm telling you 2013-14 was 20%. So
Hmm.
they have 80% gross margin. They make a lot of money, and that's why they can even give you, 15 tests in $1,500 or $2,000, right? And again, as you rightly pointed out, so we will discuss. So there are two, if you see, there are two level of issues here, right? One is the structural issues, right?
Yeah.
Other is the functional issue which you mentioned, right? So probably this will be open up a lot of questions in your mind and mind, people who are even listening to us, as so what is first thing is, why do we get blood work, right? So doctor, they see, so even if you go to a doctor, right, the process is, oh, you are not feeling well, you have constipation, you have bloating, you have headache, migraine, and number of reasons, and then you go to a doctor, and doctor will say, okay, please get your blah blah test, HbA1c, KFT, LFT, CBC, cholesterol, and all these things, and then doctor will see these tests and say, oh, you have this bad, this, right? So why don't you start eating a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits, stop eating protein, stop eating animal protein, or maybe say have a lot of fats, right? Nuts and seeds, and these are standard interventions. Or they will say, okay, let's give you some drugs and antibiotics. For instance, if someone is have a high cholesterol like 250, 260, they'll say take statins, right? Because the thing is, we know something is bad, right? We don't know what has caused it. So the problem is, since we know that our body, 95% of our body is unique, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So only we share 5% of the same biology, right? You and me will share not more than 5%, right? 95% is unique. When we are saying 95% is unique, so a food or a interventions which is good for you may be bad for me, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, this model of using blood works, right, to determine the interventions, right, that can address the biological mechanism which is causing diseases, right,
Correct.
is flawed. So they are not able to carve out the right set of precision intervention that can directly hit the biological dysregulation inside the body, right?
Yeah. So we are kind of seeing the outside outcome, we are not really looking at, what is happening at the deeper level. And
Yeah,
this is where I think the whole disconnect is, we just take a blood report, and based on that, all assessments are done, all medications start,
yeah.
never getting into what is going wrong, what is getting disbalanced in the body.
I'll share with you a very, very important thing, right? So I was talking to a customer's one of my customer last week, right? He has a very high cholesterol, and he said that I started following your recommendations, but uh, I have a bit of after 9 in the night I start feeling fatigue, right? So I asked him two questions, do you sleep well? So he told, yeah, I sleep 7.5 hours, fine. I told, okay, are you taking any medications? He told, yeah, statin. So I explained him, statin is blocking your coenzyme CoQ10, and that's why you have your energy production is low, and that's why you have this thing. So probably there are certain probiotics which can help, right? So essentially, these are the based on blood works, the doctors would give some medicines that may or may not work for you, right? Again, this is really important. So this everyone has to understand that all the foods combined together, there are 26,000 chemicals and molecules in the foods, right?
Correct.
There are more than thousands microbial species on and inside our body which are expressing around 25 million microbial genes and 25,000 human genes. So you see the permutation combination 26,000 into 25 million into 20,000, right?
That's a
That's
huge
so
possibilities.
any slight imbalance in this combination is going to cause your dis plus ease disease, right? Because it makes your body imbalanced, right? So our standard diagnostic test doesn't, diagnose these interactions at a molecular level.
Correct.
So essentially, you don't know which chemical is good or bad for you. right? Because that is not something transcription are decoding, right? So again, this is another gap at the structural level, right?
Yeah.
Third thing is, as we know, okay, you see your blood works, you map this with the current intervention, what is available, it is nutrition or drugs, doctor gives that, and then it may work for only 30% of the people, because you have not studied the unique biology of individual. As we know, that 95% is unique, right? So this is another gap, right? And then they tell, okay, this is something is wrong, something is not right, but why? That is not they are able to decode. So they just focus, okay, you have a high HbA1c, let's suppress it. So let's start having high protein diet, a lot of fiber, maybe low carb. But my question here is, what fiber, which food, right? Because a food which is high in fiber would have multiple molecules. How these molecules interact with your body would depend whether that food is going to give good things or bad things. So that food may further create problems, right?
Yeah.
Again, fail to consider the impact of molecular interaction. So the interaction inside our body at a molecular level before it goes into the bloodstream, right?
So मुझे क्या लगता है, current, at least the legacy doctors, they were never taught, molecular interactions. They were never taught, gene expression. They were never talked about, DNA, RNA, protein, and how the whole interplay happens with all these biomolecules, body versus microbes. But if you look at, now outside, for example, companies like Viomi in US, and there are several other companies which are being funded heavily. So they are aware, and I think Gene Fitletics is going to make a lot of meaningful intervention to solve chronic diseases, in the coming time. So that's a very interesting perspective. I think everyone will see unfolding in a very big way now in coming times.
This is the basics. So when I talk of structural issues, it is the how these tests have been structured, right? So compare it with any organization. There is a corporate level strategy, there is a business level strategy, right? So your corporate level strategy itself drives business level strategy, then business units, and then departmental strategies, right? So similarly, if your structural aspect of these tests is not right, probably it is not going to help, right? That's why functional issues, again, as you rightly pointed out, right? So if you go to 3 different labs, you will get 3 different results. So which one to believe? Right? All are NABL accredited, all are reputed companies, right? So the problem is not accessibility, problem is the quality accessible diagnostics.
Absolutely.
So again, this is something where people will not know that, how the sample is collected, whether in lab or by phlebotomists, right? Which is the tube, what is the chemical in the tube, how the tube is shaken, right? Whether it is entering the right vein or not, the temperature at which the sample is stored and transported. Because now we have hub and spoke model. So, for maybe for another region, there will be a particular lab. So all sample comes there, and then they then they, test it, and then they give results, right? So
yeah, that's a very good point. Even from the logistic side, temperature side, I have seen, in the labs, because I have been supplying to labs, all my life, almost. So at times, the samples are in real bad shape. Urine culture karna hai, but that urine specimen itself has gone so bad, and these guys will never ask for a repeat sample. What they do is then, they will do an assessment based on whatever is coming. And this is not only with urine, this is with blood, this is with the tissue specimen. So transport in correct temperature and sterility conditions or whatever is very, very important here.
Yeah. So before, from the time you take the sample, before it goes to the testing lab, right? There are 150 plus steps, right? Like I have mentioned few, there will be multiple steps.
Correct.
A flaw in any of the single step can make your results wrong.
Absolutely.
So someone may say, okay, how come I don't eat sugar? I don't eat, lot of, ultra processed things. How come my HbA1c is so high?
Yeah.
And you may go to another lab, it will be different, right? So these are the basic issues, right? We are not able to address these issues because the structural and functional aspects of these diagnostic tests, there are gaps, right? Again, there will be false positives and negatives, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So these are more on the food sensitivity and intolerances. Probably we are not discussing that. We'll discuss that in the next presentation somewhere, right? So again, the range of the tests, right?
Yeah.
So high that even if it's normal, it may be abnormal.
Okay.
So if you see HbA1c range would be from 4.8 to maybe 6.7, or it's a huge range, right? You are treating person who's having 6.6 and who's having 6 at the same level, because you don't know what has caused that. Why I have 6 or you have 6, I have 7. That is cannot be decoded, right?
That cannot be.
So they'll say, okay, start having high protein and a lot of fibers and all these things, right? So these are standard interventions, which are a good starting point, but essentially it may work for some time. Then it will again backfire. So let us do one thing. Let us pick up 3 things, right? Which I feel is really important from the perspective of the people suffering from various diseases. One is the type 2 diabetes, which we obviously discuss, but we will discuss more at a plasma level, right? Other is we will discuss about the chronic kidney disease, and then we will also discuss about the vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Right?
Correct. Let's go for it.
So now type 2 diabetes. So these are the standard. Most of the labs will follow this. Okay, you have more than 6.5, so indicate diabetes. 5.7 to 6.4, it's indicate pre-diabetes, or less than 5.7 is normal, right? So all the intervention based on whatever your HbA1c levels is, right? It would be on suppressing this. So if you have 6.5, they'll say, okay, let's reduce it to 5.7, right? So again, all these interventions would be either they will say low glycemic index foods, right? High protein diet, foods high in dietary fiber, right? Like a lot of vegetables and plants. Then in case of very serious cases like HbA1c of 8 or 8.5, they will say, okay, metformin, let's give us metformin or anti-diabetic agents, right? These are the standard interventions. So what are the gaps, right? First of all, they assume that insulin signaling or insulin resistance is only because of having carbohydrates. That is the first fact, because there are multiple factors which can cause insulin signaling, impairment in insulin signaling, right?
Absolutely.
Right? How a food will impact multiple biological functions. I have given example. I'll discuss every single example, right? Again, effectiveness of drugs like metformin depends upon your microbiome, right? So whether it is going to be effective for you or not depends upon your bacteria which are living in your gut. Again, what about other factors like fasting insulin levels, which we mentioned, we should discuss in the last presentation, that is a starting point of metabolic syndrome. So our focus should be on suppressing this rather than suppressing HbA1c. Then again, glycemic response, glycemic index versus glycemic response, which we also discussed in the last presentation, that glycemic index assumes that everybody processes the food in the same way. So it is upon your glycemic response to various foods, which these tests cannot cover. What about your cortisol production? What is the level of cortisol production? What is cause cortisol production? It is low or high? Because average low can also trigger Addison's disease, or high can lead to type 2 diabetes and even Alzheimer's, right?
Absolutely.
So, right? Bitrate production, again, essential short chain fatty acid, which make sure that your blood sugar level is regulated. Antioxidant production, right? Similarly, candida, yeast growth, right? Or magnesium and vitamin D deficiency. These are some of the factors which we discuss at a molecular level which causes type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely.
Which these tests will not tell, right? So again, there are 15 reasons why you can develop type 2 diabetes, but these reasons are not being spelled out in these tests. Again, as I mentioned, HbA1c is the last stage of type 2 diabetes. Focus should be on preventing insulin from spiking at the first place, not HbA1c, right?
Absolutely.
So we discussed this slide, glycemic index versus glycemic response. Probably I'll pass on because we have discussed about this.
We have some discussion on this. Absolutely.
So this is important, right? So high protein diet, right? So why do doctors or nutritionists or health companies say take a lot of protein, right? Okay, we need a lot of amino acid, essential amino acids. There are 9 essential amino acids which our body cannot produce, and we take from the diet, right?
Yeah.
We take from the food, and this helps in recovery, growth, muscle growth, blood cells, blood tissue cells. And there's a lot of beneficial aspects of this, right? Also, from a type 2 diabetes perspective, through intestinal glucogenesis, again, with what it does. So when you are replacing your carbs with protein, right? A lot of these amino acids are, through this process of glucogenesis, it is converted into glucose. Right? So essentially, it makes sure that your glycemic response is not really, it is regulated, right? So again, this process starts in small intestine and goes to liver, where your glucose is produced, and then, but again, this conversion depends upon, or this expression of intestinal gluconeogenesis genes depends upon your microbiome. So if you have a good number of bitrate producers, it can actually reduce the excess hepatic glucose production, and reduce the adiposity. So probably it can reduce your improve your insulin sensitivity, control your glucose levels. But if you don't have those bugs, right, you have, then if you don't have there, you have some protein fermenting microbes which convert these foods into ammonia, preglycerol, and into sulfate, and a lot of these things which impair insulin signaling, which lead to kidney disease as well as digestive disorder also, right? So these tests, diagnostic tests, would not tell you whether a protein is going to give you nutrient or toxin. This is the biggest gap. So when we are going for a high protein diet, right, whether it is for weight loss, whether it is for type 2 diabetes, whether it is for muscle building, right, we need to understand how that protein food amino acid is being used up in the body, and what is it being converted into. Again, what chemical, what microbial species, what genes expression.
So this brings something which is very important, is how do we preserve good microbial flora inside the gut, by not having unnecessary medicines, unnecessary chemicals, dumping everything in the stomach, so I'm asking you because recently I was also listening to some of the reports from Australia and elsewhere. They were even talking about feces, implanting, from one person to another, it sounds very, but that talks about the importance of having the right kind of gut flora. So what do you recommend? Probably now, or probably at the end of the discussion, you can actually cover for everyone's benefit.
I can cover here also, because let me tell this, so if someone tells, okay, you have, so gut health is not only about digestive issues, it is relating to every single, metabolic function, biological function, be it depression, be it, skin issue, be it metabolic issue, be it heart issue, right? Your gut is connected with everything. And if you see, if you have issues, probably some companies promoting gut health would say that start having a lot of different colored vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and a lot of these things, right, which is not bad, which is right, which is a good starting point. But again, not all vegetables and fruits are going to be good for you, and not all nuts and seeds are going to be good for you, right? Probably I'll discuss this thing in the coming slides, where I'll open up a lot about CGM machines also, right? So why CGM machines are again half baked cake, right? So again, example of when we talk of lot of eat a lot of fiber, right? So let's take example of a staple vegetable which we eat, and nowadays we are eating in specifically in north, because we are now having winters, and spinach is the most available vegetable, right? Again, spinach is high in inulin and a lot of fibers, which helps to regulate our blood sugar level, right? But is that the only nutrient or chemical available? So spinach is also high in oxalate, right? Again, oxalate is an anti-nutrient, so oxalate has to be neutralized by your microbiome, right? If you don't have those bacteria, so you would have a high level of circulatory oxalate inside your bloodstream, inside your body, right? So first thing is, it can lead to kidney stones, it can lead to joint pains, right? It can also trigger a uric acid production. It can also, or probably this circulatory level can further impair your insulin signal and can lead to type 2 diabetes, because it will further escalate the inflammatory environment created by LPS if you have a high LPS endotoxin production, right? Again, due to high protein diet. What we need to understand is microbial accessible carbohydrates, MAC, right? Which of these are right for your biology? Right? So it is not necessary that if you're eating spinach, it is good for you. Right? It all depends upon your body. That's why the role of microbiome comes into picture, because before the food is available to your body, when you eat, it is available to these microbes.
Correct.
Right? What the microbes convert these food into depends upon whether your body is going to get good things or bad things. Right? Again, coming on to metformin and GLP-1 anti-diabetic agent, which is normally prescribed by doctors. So metformin, what is metformin? Metformin is a blood glucose lowering compound, right? And our research has found that oral dose of metformin is more effective than intravenous dose. Okay. So triggering the role of microbiome, right? So a specific bitrate producer, Akkermansia muciniphila, is connected with lowering your hyperglycemia, or maybe a bad bacteria. If there's high activity of Bacteroides fragilis, it can lead to higher hyperglycemia, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. Right? So again, effectiveness of metformin depends upon your microbiome, which these tests will not tell you. Right? Again, there are some tests which will tell you, okay, you have this bacteria, that bacteria, right? But they don't decode the activity level of these bacteria.
Bacteria and
genes expression, right? So both microbial and human genes expression, right? So absolutely. Again, rhabdolysis is again an GLP-1 agent. Again, it promotes weight loss. A lot of people who are obese or who have very high blood sugar levels, doctors would recommend this GLP-1 anti-agent. And there are a number of side effects like diarrhea and nausea and vomiting. There are a lot of side effects of this drug. But again, the effectiveness of this drug depends again upon your microbiome. There are certain different bacteria, Bacteroides dori, Rosobaria, right? These all they improve your insulin sensitivity and reduce your LPS production, right? On the other hand, pathogens such as Prevotella copris, it increases your insulin resistance. Again, it depends upon the activity of various microbes whether this drug is going to work or not.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, what percentage it will work?
Yeah, it also depends upon whether so generally happens if you are taking a GLP-1, if it doesn't work, doctor will start saying, okay, let's reduce your stomach. When your stomach is small, probably you will not eat much, so you will not gain weight. Right? Bitrate surgery, which is a very old method of reducing weight, which is a lot of doctors are promoting because they don't know what has caused weight gain. Right? It is not about calorie in, calorie out. Again, let's talk another disease like chronic kidney disease, right? So if you have a high creatinine level of more than 1.5, your urea production is really high. Probably doctor will say, okay, you are at the risk of developing kidney diseases, right? So so again, it's all connected. So your cholesterol level, your anemia, and if you have this, probably your nutrient vitamin absorption is low. So you will be given a lot of drugs to lower cholesterol level, to treat your anemia and low protein diets, because generally we'll say, okay, you have, because of your consuming a lot of protein, there's a high urea, and that's or in worse situation, they will refer you for a dialysis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The problem is these tests do not decode that what has caused dysregulation in kidney functioning.
Yeah.
Right? They'll okay, take this drug, we can suppress it, right? So again, precresol, again, it's a byproduct of a lot of specific protein foods high in amino acids and proteins, tryptophan, right? Protein bacterial metabolite indoxyl sulfate indoleamines, right? These are again urematic production, the interaction between gut and kidney, right? Which these tests don't decode, right? And uremia and other toxins, then short chain fatty acids, low level of short chain fatty acids bitrate is connected with the kidney issues. Then TMA, again, protein fermentation byproduct, ammonia production. A lot of these fish and a lot of these animal protein are converted into ammonia. Then LPS, we have discussed that's a major culprit everywhere in diabetes and in chronic kidney disease also. Then oxalate metabolism. So people may not have, okay, their urea may not come high, they say, okay, my urea is not high, I'm not going to develop any kidney disease. But oxalate can further, trigger uric acid. So again, I don't think so. There's any blood work which tracks your oxalate levels, right? Uric acid, as we mentioned, uric acid is another parameter which triggers urea. Then salt stress pathways. It defines whether again we know high salt creates hypertension and kidney issues because uh, it kills a lot of salt sensitive microbes, lactobacillus species, which is required for your kidney functioning, right? So that's why we say salt is not good. Then again, glutamine again is an amino acid, a byproduct of amino acid, right? So these are number of other molecular level factors, right, which these tests are not able to decode. And I'm not cooking it. So these are some research papers which connects the dots between the kidney disease and the gut microbiome.
Yeah, I don't think people can look at this. I think you should put it on full display mode.
Sure. Yes. So yeah, so these are the focus on gut kidney axis in health and disease, right? So there's an this is an NCBI article, right? And again, if you see the gut kidney axis, the gut microbe produces many uremic solids like toxins such as indoxyl sulfate, p-cresol sulfate, and trimethylmine TMA, right? During chronic kidney disease.
Yeah, understood.
So these are the linkages what we discussed in the previous slide, right? So again, kidney disease also lead to hypertension, and then there are a lot of these dialysis which happens, which actually doesn't solve your problem.
Absolutely.
So again, essential part, 85% of people globally take a lot of vitamins and mineral supplements. So first thing is, if we go for these tests, we'll know, okay, I have vitamin D deficiency, vitamin B12 deficiency, vitamin E, magnesium, iron, and all these supplement deficiencies. But then doctor will say, okay, start taking these supplements like iron supplement or vitamin D supplement or vitamin B12 supplements, right? So questions everyone should ask when you're going for this blood work: what has caused these deficiencies?
Deficiency in the first place,
Right? Let's take example of iron deficiency, right? Is it methane gas? Is it histamine? Is it candida? Is it some parasite infection, high cortisol, or use of antibiotics, right? There are multiple reasons. What has caused iron deficiency?
So what we are saying is, and what you are insisting is that, rather than just looking at what is missing and taking it, let us try to understand the real cause, the metabolic cause, or at microbial level or gene expression level. What is creating that? That is something which needs to be looked at.
Yeah. So again, vitamin B12, it can be low level of bifidobacteria of E. coli, which specific bacteria is causing it, because most of the B vitamins and K vitamins are given directly by your microbiome, right? So again, it's not about what you're eating, it's about how well it is being absorbed. So what is your nutrient absorption rate? These tests will not tell you what is your nutrient absorption rate, what has caused suboptimal nutrient absorption, right? With specific microbes, right? Or is a chronic stress or whatever it is, right? How much is the deficiency, right? So you have vitamin D deficiency, how much? Or vitamin, how much? 10 grams, 10 mg, 50 mg, 100 mg, what is the deficiency, right?
Absolutely.
Or when you're taking supplements, these supplements are in synthetic form, they are loaded with a lot of metals such as fluoride, right? Can they impact kidney and liver functioning, right? These are the questions. Or supplements are standard supplements built on scale, so they may be giving more than required. For instance, we have found that excess consumption of vitamin D is again connected with osteoporosis and even cancer, right? So we should not take in excess of what our body requires, right? So it is important to understand, if I have deficiency, what has caused it, right? How much is deficiency, right? What should I take? Why? So inflammation is the root cause, but what has caused inflammation?
Correct.
So these are really important questions we should ask from a vitamin and mineral deficiencies perspective, which these tests will not tell, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You just can't dump
so before I go to the next session, probably if you have any questions on the blood works, we can discuss.
So I think we did discuss already, so I don't have questions as such, but for the audience, I would say that one, even if blood work is important, so go for a quality one, which gives you the right kind of advice. Number two, don't look on the report as it is. You try to find out what can be resolved, what can be underlying cause. Look at your gut microbial activity, what is going on. And unnecessary, number three, unnecessary, don't keep dumping stuff in the body, supplements, vitamins, fibers. किसी से सुना and डाल लिया. It actually does not work that way. And fourth point, as you correctly said, even look at uh, how much is deficiency, what is the level, and how much it needs to be supplemented. So those are the points I think will be very helpful for the audience.
Yeah. So this is again a new trend which have picked up in the last 3 years. So
Yeah.
we have continuous glucose monitoring machine. So we eat something, we have this thing, non-invasive device, and we can track on our mobile. Okay, my blood work is going up or down. My blood glucose, how it is.
Yeah.
So again, this is these are new technology, connected devices, CGM devices do a great job in tracking your blood sugar level after each meal, not food. So you don't eat potato and then check. You don't eat rice separately. You don't eat roti separately, right? So so they will tell you as a meal, as a specific, how it is escalating your blood sugar level.
Sugar, yeah.
So again, as I mentioned, they fail to track for every food, or probably they may track for every food, but you are not going to eat everything separately just for this heck of tracking your blood glucose level.
Yeah.
Again, as I mentioned, it doesn't track your fasting insulin, which is the starting point of your metabolic syndrome.
Oh yeah.
And what are these CGM machines? They have sensors. These are microchips. Again, I have not seen a lot of these chips which are combining multiple factors. Like, if your body temperature is high, or if it's excess heat because of workout, you're tracking it, it will not give you accurate results. Or even, your blood pH level. So again, there is a deviation of 20-25% in your, blood sugar, which will be depicted by this, again.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, spinach, same example, right? Whether it is going to give you nutrients, it is going to give you toxins also. So again, they cannot track the impact of food on different biological functions.
Correct.
Again, type 2 diabetes can be due to cellular stress. We discussed about mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress. Again, they cannot track that because they're just focusing on the plasma level of blood sugar levels, right?
True.
Toxins released by your microbiome. We discussed about in kidney disease in case of type 2 diabetes. Not possible for them to track. Right? They cannot infer insight about immune response, which is starting point of your autoimmune disorders, right? So whether your immune cells are overactive or underactive or rightly expressed, right? Again, mitochondrial dysfunction, which impacts your beta cells, which can lead to diabetes, right? For instance, some questions. If I have oxidative stress, high stress, I will take curcumin, or I will take this, what we call haldi, right? We are saying, okay, I know curcumin can actually control my cortisol production and oxidative stress.
Yeah.
But curcumin also, what it does is it pushes up your cholesterol production. So if you have a high bile acid metabolism, it can lead to diarrhea. Right? Because for fat digestion, you need cholesterol, right?
Yeah.
Again, we discussed in the cholesterol discussion also that, if your bile acid metabolism is pretty high, it can go to your lower gut, it can go to your large intestine, it can start doing diarrhea. And so that's why we should know how our food will impact various functions. Again, same. Glutathione, again, is a super food or super antioxidants. It's found in spinach, okra, avocado, and a lot of vitamin C fruits like strawberries and oranges, right? Which is required to take care of your mitochondrial dysfunction, right? Because of oxidative stress. But these foods high in glutathione also are high in hydrogen sulfide. So what if your hydrogen sulfide production is high, right? So these are the multiple aspects of how our food will impact different functions. Similarly, take leeks and spinach, and all these foods are high in inulin, but they're also high in oxalate, so it can trigger fatigue or joint pain. Right? And the biggest thing, if you have magnesium deficiency, because we discussed about mitochondria, it uses magnesium as a cofactor to repair the mitochondrial dysfunction. Again, it can increase the risk of insulin resistance. So doctor will say start taking pumpkin seeds, because pumpkin seeds and magnesium. What about histamine intolerance? Pumpkin seeds are also histamine liberators. Right? Okay. So none of these CGM machines would be able to decode different functions. So you may be improving your metabolic health on one aspect, you may be harming on the other.
Yeah, true, true. So another point which is now becoming very evident is, for example, even something like haldi, which is curcumin. So taking too much of it is going to spoil things. So it's all about balancing. It's all about testing. It's all about staying in the limits with a lot of relevance involved. Just don't go for it, too much. That spoils the balance.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's all about balance. That's what I understood as a biologist, always.
So again, so the question arises after our discussion, right?
Yeah.
I know this question will arise in a lot of minds of a lot of people, right? So should we not go for a diagnostic test? Is it bad? Is it worth spending time or money? So my answer to this is no, you should go for these tests.
You should go for it. Absolutely.
But why? Diagnostics is a post-mortem of your biological functions and
Correct.
molecular interaction happening inside the body.
Hmm.
It should not be the starting point. It should be the end point. Right? So these are not answering question why and what makes us develop various chronic health conditions. So if you are starting with blood works, you are actually just focusing on one thing and you are just suppressing your symptoms. It's a back of the envelope calculation. So starting point should be what is the end at the end of the fork which goes into your food, how it impacts various molecular interactions, right? Between your genes expression, between your microbes, between the molecules in foods, right? And if the food you are eating is balancing your biological machinery, right? Your blood works would be automatically normal.
True. Absolutely.
Right?
I think you banged it, with the last statement.
Yeah.
That's how you have to restore the whole biological machinery.
Yeah. So this is again an example of explanation of, so we have, as I mentioned, they have 26,000 chemicals in foods, then 10,000 plus, sorry, it's 1,000, I typed it wrong. 1,000 plus microbial species expressing 25 million genes, right? 25,000 human genes, right? So these all three combine, right? And when they combine, the microbial metabolites is being released by your microbiome, which either give you vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and short chain fatty acids, which balances your blood works, hormones, blood sugar levels, cholesterol, urea, or it give you toxins like LPS, methane, ammonia, and which dysregulates your test results, right? So this is a wheel of understanding what is the starting point, right? If we know what is causing the dysregulation, we can actually correct it. And that's why when I in the first slide that if you can understand these molecular signatures, you can actually find out what is causing it. We can predict it and we can detect it.
Yeah. True.
Right? So these are some of the important aspects we should consider when we are going for blood work. So go for blood works regularly, but do not fall for interventions based on this blood work because your doctor or your nutritionist is telling you, right? Get into a thorough investigation of why. So question is why. If my cholesterol is 200 plus, why it is? Is it because of food, or is it because of some dysregulation, or some because so some people say I eat vegetarian, I don't eat protein, I don't eat animal protein, I don't eat fried stuff, right? Especially in South India, see. Why do they have high cholesterol levels? Because we generally say, okay, it is because of egg yolk, it is because of chicken, it is because of red meat, right? So it's not, as we mentioned, this 20%, 30% comes from diet, right? So question is why we develop this, why we have this much dysregulation, right? Whether we can actually find out this, what is causing it, then probably, you can actually reverse it and you can control it, right? So do not think, if you are going for a product which is charging you 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees a month, it is very cheap, it can help you manage your health. It is not going to, you see the lifetime cost of managing your disease. Not only for the financial costs, obviously there are the emotional costs, the relationship costs, right? A lot of people who get suffered because of, because of wrong interventions which is given to you, right? And the problem is even doctors don't know why it is happening, right? So nutrition is not being taught in medical schools, right? So please do not, go for, such things which such people, if you go to any, go for any surgeries or any treatments, doctor will write, okay, have normal diet. What is normal diet? What do you mean by normal diet?
What is normal? It's all over the place, I mean,
So that is that thing, sir. I'm happy to, you can challenge me on a lot of things now since we have gone through the entire discussion.
Yeah, so I think I would not like to challenge, but I would like to say that, in the end, what a patient, what a person who is conscious about his health, in totality, how should he ensure that he's going the right way rather than seeing the end point, which is blood work. At the end of the day, when you have HbA1c already escalated to certain level, it becomes a sort of a non-reversible thing. So how we as a common man go about it, in a way that we are going right, and what kind of testing interventions or possible combination should be looked at.
Yeah. So for everyone, we are doing a webinar 23rd of December, so probably just before your Christmas holidays, right? And we're going to decode everything in detail in terms of what is making us develop these diseases, right from era of our ancestors, right? How lifestyle changes have impacted it, and why microbiome is a solution. And probably we'll be also opening up a Pandora box on, how our results, we arrive at results. We'll go through a live report for one of our, customers, right, without sharing the details and name and everything, right? So we will share them. We'll show what kind of insights you get and what kind of interventions you get and how we develop those interventions, right? So,
wonderful. That would be really helpful, and I think we all look forward to that, for sure. So I'm very excited. I'm sure the audience must be as well after listening to all this discussion.
Yeah.
And the point is, think about it. Don't go blindly after anything. Try to dissect, try to deep dive with the right kind of testings. And we are going to bring a lot more exciting stuff which can help you to lead a better life, to lead a chronic disease free life as much as possible.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Good day.